Ambassador Zekathara of the Hegemony clicked her mandibles nervously as she reviewed the case files one final time. The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Court of Justice stretched before her, its walls humming with the translated voices of 1,000 different species. She had argued before this court 17 times in her distinguished career, winning 14 cases through superior logic and flawless adherence to galactic law. Today, however, she faced her greatest challenge, a human lawyer. The court recognizes Attorney Sarah Chen, representing the Terran Colonial Alliance, announced the AI arbiter, its voice echoing through the chamber in perfect universal translation. A small figure rose from the defendant's table. To Zekathara's compound eyes, humans looked almost comically fragile. No natural armor, no claws, no intimidating size. Yet every diplomat in the chamber shifted uncomfortably as Sarah Chen approached the podium. Word had spread through diplomatic circles about what humans could do in a courtroom. "Your Honor," Chen began, her voice calm but carrying an undertone that made Zekathara's chitin crawl. "My client stands accused of violating Galactic Trade Regulation 47B by allegedly manipulating quantum market fluctuations. The prosecution claims this constitutes economic terrorism against 17 member species." Zekathara straightened. The evidence was overwhelming. The human colony of New Singapore had somehow caused a cascading effect in the galactic economy that benefited Earth's interests while destabilizing 3 major trade routes. The mathematics were clear, the quantum signatures undeniable. However, Chen continued, and Zekathara noticed how the translator struggled with the human's intonation. "I submit that Regulation 47B, as written, contains a fundamental flaw that makes this prosecution not just invalid, but dangerous to every species in this chamber." A murmur rippled through the assembled diplomats. Zekathara's confidence wavered. This was exactly what she'd been warned about. Humans didn't just argue cases, they dissected entire legal frameworks with surgical precision. The regulation states, and I quote, "No sentient entity shall knowingly manipulate quantum economic variables to the detriment of galactic stability." The prosecution's case rests entirely on the word knowingly. Chen activated a holographic display showing the regulation's text in 17 different languages. "Now, Your Honor, I ask the court to examine the Zephyrian translation of this statute." Zekathara's secondary heart skipped. She was Zephyrian. She had helped draft that translation. In Zephyrian legal terminology, knowingly translates to khetalar, which implies not just awareness but malicious intent. However, the original galactic standard uses knowingly in its most basic sense, simple awareness. This creates a fundamental inconsistency. The human lawyer gestured to another section of her display. The hegemony's legal framework, represented here by Ambassador Zekathara, operates on the Zephyrian translation. They prosecuted my client for malicious intent, but 17 other species in this chamber use translations that only require basic awareness. Zekathara felt her confidence crumbling. The human had found a crack in the foundation of galactic law that no one had noticed in 3 centuries of legal practice. "This means," Chen continued, her voice gaining strength, "that we have 18 different interpretations of the same law being enforced simultaneously across the galaxy. My client was operating under Terran translation protocols which, like 7 other species represented here, interpret knowingly as awareness without malicious intent." The chamber erupted in whispered conversations. Diplomats frantically consulted their own legal databases, realizing the implications. If Chen was right, hundreds of previous cases might need to be reviewed. "Your Honor, I move not only for dismissal of charges against my client, but for a complete review of the galactic legal translation matrix. The prosecution cannot prove malicious intent under the unified standard they claim to uphold, because no such unified standard actually exists." Zekathara rose to object but found herself speechless. The human was right. Technically, legally, completely right. What's more, she had exposed a flaw in the system that could unravel decades of legal precedent. "Furthermore," Chen added, and Zekathara's mandibles clicked in dread, I submit evidence that the hegemony itself has benefited from similar quantum market fluctuations on 47 separate occasions over the past decade, each time avoiding prosecution because they operated under their own legal interpretation. The holographic display shifted to show a comprehensive analysis of hegemony trade practices. Zekthara stared at the data in horror. The human had done the one thing that terrified every galactic diplomat. She had done her homework. The prosecution cannot simultaneously argue that universal legal standards apply while enforcing culturally specific interpretations of those standards. They cannot claim my client violated galactic law while their own clients have engaged in identical behavior under different linguistic frameworks. The AI arbiter processed for several long moments. This court recognizes the validity of the defendant's translation paradox argument. The prosecution's case is dismissed pending a comprehensive review of the galactic legal translation matrix. As the chamber buzzed with shocked diplomats, Zekthara approached Chen during recess. How did you find the translation inconsistencies? Chen smiled, an expression that managed to be both friendly and predatory. We spent 3 months having our AIs analyze every legal precedent, every translation, every cultural interpretation in the galactic database. Humans have a saying, the devil is in the details. When you're the newest species in galactic politics, you learn to look very carefully at the fine print. But the implications? Zekthara gestured helplessly. You've potentially invalidated centuries of legal framework. Not invalidated, Chen corrected. Improved. By next cycle, we'll have a truly universal legal standard instead of a patchwork of cultural interpretations. Isn't that what galactic justice should be about? As Zekthara watched the human pack up her files, she understood why diplomatic circles had begun to whisper about the human factor in galactic law. They didn't just play the game. They examined the rules, found the flaws, and forced everyone to play better. The galactic court would never be the same. And somewhere in the diplomatic quarter, 17 ambassadors were calling home to warn their governments. When humans entered your courtroom, they brought more than lawyers. They brought evolution.